Welcome back, everybody, to the Breakthrough Moment podcast, where we interview successful entrepreneurs and investors and ask them what is their biggest breakthrough moment in their career, the moment that changed it all, that took them into another level of success or impact or insight. And as they share that moment with us at home can have breakthroughs as well. My name is Deane with Marques Ogden. How are you today, Marques?
How are you, Jack? Thanks for having me on, my friend.
Very excited to have you here. Let me do a quick little intro and we'll dive into it. So, for everybody listening at home, this is going to be a standout podcast. Marques has had an incredible story and definitely something that will blow you away. So grab your pens and papers and take some notes. We're going to go deep today. He went from an eight-figure NFL career to earning $8.25 an hour, not because of the talent disappearing, but because the ego got in the way. Marques lost everything in 90 days, and instead of running from that story, he turned it into one of the most powerful messages in business today. His podcast reached the top 1% in just 7.5 months. He's done over close to 900 podcasts. He has spoken to Fortune 500 clients, been featured in Forbes and US Today, and now helps leaders build the resilience they need to win when everything else is falling apart. He says, running into the storm. How do you prepare for that? But the real breakthrough moment wasn't the comeback. It's going to be what you guys are going to experience today. Make sure you stay to the end for all the golden nuggets from Marques. Welcome to the Breakthrough Moment podcast. What
Thank
has
you,
been your
Zach.
biggest breakthrough moment so far? Let's start there and go.
Zach, it was when I met Mel Robbins. I'm not sure if you know who she is or not. So, Mel Robbins is considered one of the top keynote speakers, podcasters, thought leaders in the world. And in 2018, I was on her audiobook. I was very fortunate and blessed to be on her audiobook, Kick Ass with Mel, which was the number one globally downloaded audiobook in the world in 2019, 2020. And Mel changed my life. That was my breakthrough moment. I remember Mel asking me if I was motivational. And I said, yes, I totally am motivational. And she said to me, wow, okay, are you sure? I said, yep, I'm 100% sure. And she said, Marcus, motivation is garbage. I said, what do you mean, Mel? Motivation is short term. It's only for your benefit. It is short lasting. And at some point, you will burn out. And I said, wow. She said, Marcus, focus on being inspirational. And I said, what do you mean? Focus on breathing life and hope and courage into other people. When you focus on that, that allows you to become a person that creates what we call that impactful positive legacy. And at that moment, you'll start to change not only the people's lives that you interact with, but your life itself. And I tell you what, Zach, that was the biggest breakthrough advice that I ever got because for so long in my speaking career, because I started in 2013, I only had two paid speaking jobs up until when I met Mel, only two. Got one in 2016, one in 2018. But after meeting Mel and learning the importance of value and inspiring others and being impactful, that's when I said, okay, I need to change my mindset. I need to shift from thinking about me, motivation, to thinking about others, inspiration. It was interesting, right? One of the two forms of leadership, right, Zach, is inspirational leadership. Inspirational leaders create belief. They fire the team up and they get people ready to win. So, to answer your question, Mel Robbins in 2018 in Boston in her studio telling me that motivation is garbage, inspiration is everything. That was the breakthrough moment for me in my business life, but also too, Zach, in my personal life.
So super interesting, Marcus. It's amazing how sometimes the one-liners can change our whole mindset, right? And so I'm curious, take us into what happened next, what unfolded because of that mindset shift. What next? Real quick, before we continue, a brief message from today's sponsor. If you're an entrepreneur wanting to grow your personal brand, authority, and business through podcasting, then check out findapodcast.io. As you know, the biggest entrepreneurs in the world, they book these massive podcast tours before a big product launch or an event or book, because podcasts build trust faster than anything else online today. So it's findapodcast.io. It helps you connect with a specific podcast in your niche. It writes the pitch, it follows up in this easy CRM. It truly does save time. So you just show up, do the podcast, and your business grows. If you're curious to learn more, book in a demo at findapodcast.io. Now, let's get back to the episode.
So from there, Zach, we really changed our approach. We started to market more about others as far as that we were more focused and concerned about you as the client, not us. So in reality, right, Zach, for so long as a keynote speaker, 2013, probably till about through 2018, even in my first two paid jobs, it wasn't as impactful as after meeting Mel. So from 2013 to 2018, right, Zach, all of our keynotes were really about us and what we wanted to say or what we felt that you needed to hear, not what you had told us through talking with us or a pre-con or a meeting, what you needed to hear. And that was huge because at the end of the day, right, Zach, what happened is our whole marketing approach shifted. We started talking more about value to people. We started talking about more about being an active listener. We started talking about learning how to customize our keynotes, right, Zach? That's a real big thing. Now, in business, we're going to talk more about business as a whole, right, Zach? But if you're listening to this episode and you want to be a keynote speaker or you want to inspire others through trainings, workshops, all that kind of great stuff, you have to remember this key point. You have to create PowerPoints or decks that are made specifically for each client. I'll say it again. Create decks that are specifically made for each client. You're saying to yourself, well, why? Because when a client sees that a deck was created just for them, like with their logo throughout the deck, with what they've been telling you they need to have solved throughout the deck, referring to their audience within your deck, right? If you can do these things, right, Zach, what happens is you go from being someone that is motivational to being someone that's inspirational. So in reality, is that our whole approach, thought process shifted. And as a result of that, we started getting more attention from organizations and not-for-profits. And what happened is, right, Zach, we were able to charge a little bit consistently. So, instead of getting paid every once in a while, we started getting paid about $1,500 for a speech. Then we went up to 2,500, and we kept climbing and climbing. But it's because, right, Zach, we just were consistent and we understood. So we stopped focusing on what we wanted or what we thought you needed to hear, and we focused on what you told us you needed to hear. And that was the big shift from being a struggling, every once in a while paid keynote speaker to a consistent keynote speaker that gets paid over and over again.
Fascinating. For sure, this personalization, it's allowing people to feel heard and seen and listened to, right? So very, very interesting. Hypothetically, I'm so curious. You've been through many trials and tribulations. You've been through different career shifts and everything like this. If you could go back in time and implement one strategy or change one thing, what do you think you would do different?
Zach, what I would have done is after my NFL career, before I got into business, I would have hired a coach. Because in football, in sports in general, we all have coaches. I don't care how great you are. Michael Jordan had Phil Jackson. Kobe Bryant had Phil Jackson. Tom Brady had Bill Belichick. Every great athlete has a coach. every great business leader should also have a coach. And when I got into my construction business, I got into it with an arrogance, like, oh, I'm a former athlete, I'll figure this out. And what happened was the worst thing ever, actually. I had some success early. I started to make some moves early. I was very charismatic. I was very charming. I could get people to hire us, and they did. And we did okay. But unfortunately, Zach, as the company grew, I was not in the mental capacity position within my scope of work of construction, i.e., site work or utilities or grading, etc. I did not have enough experience in those areas, and I should have never, ever got into business in those areas. And I did. And it cost me everything. Again, had a little bit of quick success out of the gate, right, Zach? Got to multiple eight figures. Things were awesome. But I ended up losing everything because of the fact that I just didn't know what I was doing. So if you're listening to this episode, please, 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 if you're a business leader, want to become an entrepreneur, if you're an entrepreneur that wants to scale and you don't have a coach, please start the process of trying to find one. I have a coach now, Zach, in my business, and we talk every week. We go over our numbers, our podcast downloads. We go over our revenue. We go over the business. How's the team doing? Every week for 30 minutes, we go over everything. And we were talking about, we have a 6-month plan with my new business partner with OgdenVictoryMindset.com. And he said, okay, Marcus, I like this, but is this going to pull you away from your podcast and other things? I said, no, George, actually, the podcast doing well and speaking doing well and writing our new book that's going to be coming out, all those things are very, very important to the growth of Ogden Victory Mindset. So it actually works in combination. But see, Zach, I was able to chat with him about that. I knew that, but he wanted to make sure that I was still going in the right direction. So these are the things that I tell people all the time are so vital. You must in business hire a coach. And again, as a guy that did not hire one and had success early and made a bunch of money early, by the end of the year 5, going into year 6, Zach, I'm bankrupt. I'm broke. I'm out of business. I have my home foreclosed on. Both cars repossessed in the same day. I got to Raleigh, North Carolina with only $400 to my name because that I thought I knew it all in business. And in reality, Zach, I didn't know a darn thing.
Wow. You you've got a story, Marcus. Oh my gosh, this story is fascinating. And there's definitely so much power in having a coach, a mentor, someone to move through that. I couldn't agree with that more. How did the BISON mindset framework come about? Because it sounds like that's a key element of not just your own breakthrough, but also the breakthroughs you create for others. Is that correct?
You won't believe this, Zach. So I am a Howard University Bison graduate. Howard University's mascot is the bison, but I didn't find it then. Zach, I got inducted into Howard's Athletic Hall of Fame in 2022. I was gifted a bronze bison by Howard and the athletic department in 2022. I have it, Zach. It's sitting right in my man cave as you walk in my front door. Zach, I still did not develop it at that time. About 18 months to 2 years ago, one of my best friends, Pastor Corey Smith, who I've known since 2012, Corey he's a preacher and he's a pastor at a huge church in Timonium, Maryland. Great guy, great brand, great church. Everything about him is amazing. He put a sermon, part of his sermon, on Instagram. And in the sermon, Zach, it talked about the bison being the only animal that charges directly into the eye of the storm. It's the only animal. Every other animal on earth, when the storm comes, runs from the storm. That is what their innate, makeup tells them to do. The bison's legacy, the bison's purpose, the bison's inspiration is to be the only animal that when a storm is coming, they put their hooves in the ground and they charge directly at the storm. Here is the metaphor, right? Here's that big point, right, Zach? The bison believes the fastest way out of a storm is through a storm. That's correct. If you run from your problems, right, Zach, they will catch you, right? So it's very much like life. So once I heard that, I said, wait a second. I'm a Howard University Bison graduate. I have a bronze bison there. And not only that, Zach, my dad went to Howard University, was a bison. My dad was in the first class of athletes to get scholarships at Howard University. And my dad and I are the only father and son that are in Howard's Athletic Hall of Fame, their history. So it really fit. So once I heard that, right, Zach, I started doing some research with my team. I started to get more information. I started to do more research. And from that moment, the bison mentality was born. And so now, Zach, everything we do, we have different workflows for our podcast, for speaking, coaching, our website, right, Zach? The bison is everywhere. The bison mentality. We even have an acronym for bison. When we speak for clients, right, Zach? The bison is going to always be in it, like a photo of it, a picture of me in it, a picture of me and my daughter Fair when I got inducted right into Howard's Athletic Hall of Fame. So the acronym is B, boldness, fortune favors the bold, I, integrity. At every turn, you have to show integrity. Integrity is not something you pull out of your toolbox every once in a while. Integrity is a 24/7 way of life. The S is self awareness. Know what you do well, but what you don't do well, fix it, get better. The O is ownership. When you make a mistake in life, notice I said when, you own it, you fix it, you move on. Humans make mistakes. It is just in our nature. But owning it is a real way to show you are a bison. And N, never ever quit. So in business, have the bison mindset. Boldness, integrity, self awareness, ownership, never ever quit. And that's very much like the story of the Get Authentic with Marques Ogden podcast, because it took me a while to start it. But once we did, we developed that mindset to keep going forward.
What an incredible story. This is so fascinating. I have so many questions. We've got limited time, so I'm going to keep rocking through the podcast. Exactly what I wanted to ask about next. You mentioned that it took you some time to do the podcast. Why? And then what was that breakthrough moment? Like what was the final thing, the decision that made you start the podcast?
So the breakthrough moment there, Zach, was one of my great friends. His name is Gus Farrat. He played in the National Football League as a quarterback with the Washington Redskins, Dolphins, Vikings. Great guy. I had just ended doing a podcast with another guy named Leverett, and we just parted ways. We didn't agree on some things. We had just went separate ways. No big deal. But I was burnt out, right, Zach? I was tired. I had been doing the podcast and I was overworked and I felt like we weren't getting anywhere. And it was a lot of work because I was kind of burnt out. Well, Gus, who's a former NFL player, said, Marcus, we're starting a podcast network called the NFL Alumni Network. We would love for you to come and bring a podcast to the network. I said, Gus, thank you very much. I'm going to decline your offer because I'm just tired. So he asked me again. And on the fourth time, right, Zach, it took him 4 times, 4. And he asked me again. I said, Gus, you're not going to go away, are you? He said, no, Marcus, I'm not. You have too much talent. You have too much ability to do this at a high level. You just need to start and you need to not worry about what happened before. I said, Gus, okay. So I launched the podcast June 2022, right, Zach? So, matter of fact, tomorrow will be 4 years, because June 1st will be 4 years exactly that month, right? Now, then, Zach, I started the podcast. Then, July of 2022, the next month, Zach, the next month, I filed for divorce. And that was absolutely something I never saw coming, ever. I filed for divorce. And I remember it was November 1st, 2022. And I moved into a broken down, flimsy, horrible, nasty apartment because I only had 2 weeks, Zach, to get out of my marital home. And I needed a place that had 2 bedrooms for me and my daughter. And I needed Zach to be fully furnished. So I had limited options with not a lot of time. We found a place. It was horrible. It was awful. And I remember, Zach, it was January 15th, 2023. My daughter, who at the time was 8, Farah, I have 2 daughters. I have a 22-year-old Ava, and I have Farah, who's now 11. But at the time, right, Zach, she was 8. And she said, Daddy, can I talk to you? I said, of course you can talk to me, honey. What's going on? She said, Daddy, I don't feel safe in this apartment. I don't sleep well at night. I don't like it here. I want us to go home. I said, Farah, we can't go home. Daddy can't go home. But what daddy can do, daddy will work his butt off to help get us out of here. And Zach, that was that moment. That was the moment that I leaned into the podcast. I stopped being in victim mindset. I went to victor mindset. Instead of being tired on interviews, feeling overwhelmed, like a failure, I picked my energy up. I got myself back in the game. I said, that was my breakthrough. Like, I'm going to push through this because Farah has made it known that she wants to have a better quality of life, which she deserves. And Zach, for that, from January 15th going forward, it was like a light bulb came on. I really dived into the podcast, putting out more episodes, closing more sponsors, getting more business, getting more people to want to work with us. And Zach, that was January 15th, 2023. So it was that February, March, April. 4 months later, 4 months later to the day, Zach, May 15th, 2023, I bought a brand new home for me and my daughter Farah to move into. And I live now in what I call a Leave It to Beaver neighborhood. Amazing people, sunny skies, great families, pool, lots of kids, safe environment. You could leave your door open here, Zach. Nobody would bother you. Like great neighbors. Everybody says hi in the morning, friendly waves. It's such a huge difference for where we were in January 2023 to where we are now. But to answer your question, Zach, the breakthrough moment was Gus getting me to start the podcast. And then that real driving force to take the podcast to the next level was when my daughter told me that she didn't feel safe in where we were living. And at that moment, Zach, I stopped making excuses and I started getting results.
Wow. Your story has so much weight. I'm listening and like, oh my gosh, that happened and this happened and this happened. You've spoken to so many people. You've interviewed at night close to 900 people. I'm sure you've heard so many stories. You've had a lot of time to think about your story and articulating it and everything like this. I'm so curious, what is the number one lesson you've learned from these 900 podcasts after, these many years? What is the number one lesson you've learned about from hearing everybody?
Just be yourself. Don't try to be somebody else. One of my favorite interviews was Sebastian Bach, the former lead singer of Skid Row. And he talked about how he really loves TV and music from the 80s and 90s because it was more real. It was more authentic. It's not as fabricated as things are today. And he was 100% right. He is 100% right. Ladies and gentlemen, you can't be somebody else. I can't be Zach Deane. I can't have the accent. I can't have the thing. I don't have that. And I can't be that. And that's okay. What happens is I feel a lot of people through social media, they end up seeing other people, what they claim to have, what they say they have, the lifestyle that they say they have, and they're always wanting to be just like that. It's really interesting, right, Zach? A lot of the people who are like big time movie stars, I look at people like Reese Witherspoon's Instagram. Yeah, I look at her stuff a lot. She's not out there doing a whole lot of crazy stuff. I mean, she's about family. She's about her kids, her mom, and Reese Witherspoon has hundreds of millions of dollars from her career, right? And people like podcasters I know that do really well, they seem to have a very, very basic, very, enlightening, positive, Instagram or social media. Then you have people who are not, who are trying to come across as having the private planes and the private this and the that and the that. But I'm not saying they don't have it. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I feel sometimes when you're trying too hard to show what you have, that maybe sometimes things aren't what they appear to be. And I remember that. Zach, let's be real here. Let's talk about a breakthrough in my mind, right? It's around this topic. I remember, Zach, when my ex-wife and I tried to buy a house, right? And we got denied, and we didn't have even close what we needed to buy a house at the time. And we didn't have the right credit, we didn't have enough money. I mean, we all this, right? So what did we do? We went out and I went out and I bought a lease, a 18 Yukon XL. I remember taking a picture of it, Zach, putting it on social. Oh, it's so nice to be able to buy your wife the car of her dreams, right? The whole time, Zach, I'm saying to myself, man, we just bought this, but can we really afford it? Zach, the payments were like $1,300 a month. Now, Zach, funny thing now, I actually have a Yukon XL SLT car truck. Now I have one now. I put a picture of it, but it was very like just about Farah, giving her the type of car she wanted. The purpose was different, right, Zach? And today, right, Zach, I don't put it on social media all the time, or I very rarely, because it's just part of my everyday life, right? I'm not trying to impress people. Back when I bought in 2018, right, Zach, I was trying to impress people. I was trying to show people what I wanted them to believe I had. And the reality is that I didn't really I mean, I had it, but it was a stretch. I should never have ever bought that car. But again, right, Zach, I bought it from an emotional perspective because we were denied for the house. And I wanted to show people what they thought they wanted to see from me, and I was being not authentic, not genuine. And that was a very challenge again, right, Zach, it was exhausting trying to make enough money to pay the rent and pay that truck payment and pay the other car payment and pay our insurance and all this other stuff. So what I tell people is just be you. You are more than enough. Don't try to be somebody else. Don't try to live a life that you can't live. Don't try to put out what you if you don't have the money to buy something, that's okay. I remember, Zach, when I moved here, $400. That's it. I had $400. I had no credit cards. I had no bank. I had no, 401k. I had that 400, 400. After we got down here and paid rent, Zach, in the reality is that we should have never moved into the rental that we did. Because when we got there, right, Zach, I didn't have enough money for next month's rent. But again, I was trying to keep up with other people. And again, Zach, it was a constant exhaustion. So trust me, if you're somebody right now trying to make it appear you have something, take it from me as a guy who used to do that all the time. Don't do it. because it's only going to drive you and what you're trying to do. It's going to make it crazier to do, harder to do, and just be you. So the answer to your question, Zach, what I learned from all these 900 plus interviews, and by the way, Zach, we have published 900, right? We have recorded from now until January 15th. If I didn't record another episode, Zach, we have close to another like 250, give or take, that are recorded and already ready to go. So this is what I do. But my point is, through all these amazing episodes I recorded, I've learned this: be authentic, be real, be you. Because anything else you try to be, at some point, as Mel Robbins told me, motivation, which is what that is, will burn out.
Incredible advice. That's so interesting. I have so many more questions, but my final question, because I know we've got to wrap up. The whole theme of today's conversation and the podcast is around the breakthrough moment. You've just shared your breakthrough moment. What do you recommend or challenge or suggest people do today to also have a breakthrough?
How about this? One of my favorite quotes. This is I've never talked about this, but I didn't learn this until like a couple days ago. Right? So here's the quote: "Never tell your mind negative thoughts in a joking manner. Your body cannot disseminate the difference. Words cast spells. That's why it's called spelling. Choose how you talk to yourself and choose wisely." Bruce Lee. Do you know, Zach, you know who Bruce Lee is, correct?
Of course, yeah. Legend.
Zach, do you know how old he was when he died?
He was quite young. I think he was only like in his 50s or something.
33.
Wow. Oh,
That's
no.
it. 33. Do you know his most famous movie, Enter the Dragon? You know what I'm talking about, Zach? His most famous movie. He never saw it. He died 6 days before it came out. He died 6 days before the movie came out in movie theaters across the world. And Bruce Lee is known for his mindset. Think about that. He only lived to 33 years of age. His most famous movie, he never even saw it in the theater. But if you ask anybody, my barber's 24 years old. He doesn't even know who some of the icons of music are from the 90s. He know who they are, Ja Rule or Ashanti. Like, "Well, I don't know. Do you know who Bruce Lee is?" Of course. I'm like, he's 24. Everybody knows Bruce Lee because his mindset mentality is he has a bison type mindset. To answer your questions, that to have a breakthrough in life, you have to have the mindset of a bison, the mentality of a bison, to never ever give up. Life is going to be hard. I don't care who you are. Life is going to be challenging, but challenging doesn't mean impossible. Challenging means you have to dig your hooves or feet into the ground, see the storms coming, and charge straight into them. Because that's the fastest way out of trouble or storm, is going right at it, not ignoring it, not putting your head in the sand. And trust me, I've done both ways. Zach, when I got to Baltimore, I got to Raleigh, avoiding all the creditors, Zach, I was five. Not only Zach did I have only $400 to my name, right, when I got here in Raleigh, right, 2013. I was $5.5 million in debt. I had 177 creditors exactly on the docket. 177. Ladies and gentlemen, I used to run from my problems, put my head in the sand, hope it would go over me, hope it would go by me, and it never does. It lands straight on my head. And now in my life, if I have a problem, I go right at it. If I have an issue, I charge right into it. And as a result of that, the problems end up getting resolved much faster. And Zach, we have a book coming out soon called Built from the Storm: The Bison Operating System. We wrote that book to help. It's kind of like a cross between Atomic Habits and Extreme Ownership to help give people stories and things they can do and little quizzes, things like that, to help them develop and sustain the bison mentality or the bison mindset or the bison operating system to charge forward. So again, to answer your question, Zach, to develop or have a breakthrough in life, ladies and gentlemen, you have to have the mindset of a bison to charge into storms, not run from them.
Incredible insights. I could listen to this and ask you questions all day, but I know you have to run. Everybody at home, please share your breakthrough moment in the comments. I'm going to put Marcus's links all around here, but what's the best way people can get in touch with you, Marcus? What's the best
Couple
thing they
ways,
can do?
couple ways, Zach. One, you can email me, Marcus, Marquess, at Marques Ogden, OGDEN.com. You can also check out OgdenVictoryMindset.com. It's new. We just launched it. Again, we're going to have our book available on there for purchase. We have low tier offer or products all the way up to high tier products or services that we offer. You can also go to our website, marquesogden.com, and check us out. All right, man. We're really building, and also please check out our podcast, Get Authentic with Marques Ogden. And if you'd like to come on our show, go to Get Authentic with marquesogden.com. That's one of our workflow, websites, and click join the wait list, fill out the information, and then one of my team members will be in touch with you.
Incredible, incredible advice. This has been an awesome conversation. Thank you so much for your time. And I know you've got to run. You've got a class to run to. So, any final comments before we wrap up?
I'll also say one of my favorite quotes. I'm a big quote guy. Okay. I shall give you two. All right. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, therefore, is not an act, but a habit. Aristotle. So put in the excellent and the consistency daily. Okay. And my second one, smooth seas never made skilled sailors. Franklin Delano Roosevelt. You learn about yourself through challenges and obstacles. You are tough enough. You are courageous enough. You are bold enough. Just be your biggest cheerleader and you can charge into any storm, thrive through it, and come out on the other side stronger, more courageous, and more powerful.
Amazing. Amazing. Everybody at home, please share this with somebody who needs to hear this message today. And we'll see you guys next time on the Breakthrough Moment podcast. Thank you so much, Marcus. Have an amazing day.
Thank you, sir.